Hello everyone. It is 2 p.m. in the UK on Tuesday this week, and it is time for another one of my Instagram live conversations, chatting with friends from the world of international higher education admissions to find out about a particular topic. And so today's topic is we are going and focusing on the United States. And my guest today is Sarah Wambe, and she should be joining me very shortly. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
Doing very well, thank you. Miss having you over here this last year. It feels like too long since you've been back in your second home.
I know. I know. It's been over a year, which is, I think, the longest I've been in the last 15 years. So missing it dearly.
Well, we'll have you back. Now, actually, part of the reason for that, and for those who don't know you, you recently moved to a new institution. Do you mind introducing yourself and the university that you work for?
Yes, absolutely. So my name is Sarah Wambe. I've been in higher education across the US for over 15 years. I've worked in everything from small Catholic private institutions to public institutions in rural areas. In the last year, I've taken a position as director of admissions at a university named Radford University, Carillion. It is specifically a health sciences campus. So we're a bit different than the normal US campuses because we're actually physically located in a hospital.
Wow.
But we have some fantastic programs. And I will say what was enticing for me is I've never been in an institution that had a 93% job placement rate. Yeah, so to be at an institution that has such amazing outcomes for students, especially, in a time like now, seemed like a good fit.
Great, great. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad it's going so well. It does sound fascinating to be in a hospital. Maybe you need to come and speak to St George's University London here, who have the same kind of situation.
Yes.
So the topic we want to talk about is the health sciences in the United States, something that you and I have been doing events together, and students go up and say, "Can I study medicine? I want to go to the US." And we all go, let's delve into that topic then. For those who might be completely new to it, why is health sciences in the United States for a non-US citizen a complicated process?
Well, I think you just really went at me with the tough ones
Yeah,
here. So it's just two very different systems. In the US, you start as a pre-med, or really you can get your undergraduate in anything. Unlike in many, especially in the UK system, all around the world, where you go directly into a medical program. Within the US, you're going to, yes, you can do biology, chemistry, pre-med, but if you're looking to go in to become a doctor, you do 4 years at your undergrad, and then you go on to medical school from there. While getting into the undergrad really isn't hard for a non-US citizen, because there's a ton of different options for you. It's finding that place in medical school that can be difficult. There's not a lot of funding. There are always special circumstances, so you never say never. But there's not a lot of extra funding for international students to go into medical school. And I think the hardest part, and what I always like to tell students, is that you're being certified to practice in a country that you don't necessarily have the ability to stay long term in. So that makes it even more difficult because you're learning all of our rules, regulations, you're getting all your clinical practices here in the US, and they may not always translate overseas, as well as with work permits. It can be, especially now, the last few years,
yeah.
they've really cut back. You do have certain the abilities to work that are built into your student visa, but that's only a year or two. It's that long-term H-1B that's getting more and more elusive to get in the US. And then really it's a matter of looking at your boards at your home country to see what they would take, what you would have to do in order to practice back at home.
Great. Yeah, I mean, you just very kind of cogent explanation there, and I think something that health sciences, be it medicine, physiotherapy, nursing, but other things, it's important to understand. I quite often will say to the students, I studied a history degree. The government didn't also give me a right to be a historian. I studied the subject. Whereas if I was going to do a qualifying law degree, like an LLB, or being a doctor or a dentist or something, governments, as well as you getting that degree, do give you something that gives you the right to do this. And I guess what you're saying then is the state government of, where a university is located in the US might give you that right to do it, but you can't go with, something from West Virginia or Maryland or New York and expect in the UK or Ireland or Brazil to be able to walk into a GP surgery and go, I'm qualified to be a doctor here.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it's just there's totally different rules of the land. So you have to, and the same, like you said, doesn't, not only medicine, but also law. I mean, there's just so similar really anywhere in the world. So it's important for students to do the research. And me as an admissions counselor, I know all about the rules and regulations here, but I may not be able to tell you exactly what happens in the UK. So students do have a bit of due diligence that they have to follow.
Understood. So now you are working primarily for, at a university that's primarily focused on health sciences, but with the passion for international admissions and education that you have, and you've traveled all around the world, around Africa, here in the UK in my little minivan, doing all sorts of stuff.
Yes.
For international students who are thinking, I want to go to the US, I do want a career in something to do with health and medicine. What pathways are there despite those very real difficulties that we've outlined?
I think right now the biggest thing is need, right? The US needs healthcare workers. We have specific programs, and I'm going to put medicine aside because there's always going to be a need for doctors. But I can speak specifically to my institution. We have multiple programs that there are more jobs available than we have students for. Respiratory therapy is one of them. And I think with COVID-19, it's becoming even more, we're being more aware of the fact how few respiratory therapists there are. So we have positions like that where facilities will make exceptions and they will work their darndest to find you ways to stay here and work. And there are pathways. And we have programs that don't require master's degrees to be making, starting off $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. A medical lab scientist is another one. They're someone who is running lab work and not just drawing blood, but they're looking for cancer diagnoses. You're working all over. And you can either work in the front or in the back. So people who say, I want to work in medicine, but I don't want to deal with people, medical lab science may also be an option for you. We have physical therapy programs, occupational therapy, helping people inside their homes, just jobs that we need people for. And they're so specific that not everyone at 18 years old decides, hey, I really think I want to be a respiratory therapist, but there are so many opportunities. So for an international student looking for something super unique, looking to find a way to work immediately after uni, these are some great programs for that. And I will say we do have an emergency services program. So anyone who wants to be a paramedic, a firefighter, we're one of 13 programs in the nation to offer an actual bachelor's in emergency services.
Fantastic, great. And so I guess leading on from that, obviously, something that I talk about a lot is, the difference between a sort of a British or Western European degree, which is pick what you're studying at the time of application, versus a more North American model, which is broader. Somewhere like Radford University Carillion, which is just doing health sciences, my guess, and you'll correct me quickly if I'm wrong, is that like an Institute of Technology or like an art school, students can come in kind of broadly interested in the health sciences, and then you will help them to specialize as they go along.
Actually, we are one of the few programs that is direct admit.
There we go. Yes. I knew I was going to look silly asking you that.
Well, no. So here's what's interesting is that we are a campus of, so we are a subcampus of Radford University. So we are roughly about 40 miles away. We're both in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. But the difference is the main campus is very liberal artsy. So if you don't know what you want to do, you can absolutely come in a very broad range. And once you get into the programs, decide, and you can change your major into what we do. But where we specialize is for students who know what they want. We're a direct admit for nursing, for example. So many institutions in the US will say, yes, you're admitted to nursing. And it's fine print and it says pre-nursing, meaning that you have to keep up with your cohort. You have to make sure that your grades are just as good as that top person in order to continue into that third and fourth year and actually graduate with a nursing degree. Whereas with us, you know exactly once you are admitted into the program that you are on your degree path. There is no question. But that being said, students change their mind all the time. You may have a student that comes in and decides that they think that they want to be a doctor, and then they realize quickly that that doing something else like working in healthcare administration is more what they want to do. They want to manage the doctors instead of be a doctor, and you can absolutely switch around. But we are a direct admit program. We do not offer undecided. So that is one thing that makes us very unique.
Interesting. So you can't tell your story anymore about starting off wanting to be an opera singer at college and then changing your pathway.
Hey, but you know what? I will say one of the nice things about being a part of a larger institution, my site, Radford University Carilion, is about 1,000 students. But Radford main campus, which all students have access to, is roughly 12,000. So you still have that flexibility. There's no separate application. It gives you, as a student, if you think you want to be one thing and you still choose, you can still start off as an opera singer and end up as a physical therapist if that's what you want to do.
Perfect, great. We have a question here asking about the Irish leaving certs, and you know, I'm assuming then if you are direct entry, if we're talking about coming into the health sciences in the United States, like at Radford, you're going to pay much closer attention to the subjects and the achievement of students in sciences than, I guess, going into a more general university where you were working before. You would just want to see all-round grades. You're going to want to see that biology, chemistry, and math.
Absolutely. Programs require at the minimum 2 sciences. Always biology and chemistry are preferred. In some programs, if you've taken anatomy and physiology, that also is very helpful. And even right now, we are being very flexible with the SATs and ACTs. So if a student, we are still accepting applications. If you have anyone that has had a life-changing moment here today, we are able to waive that. Because really, yes, we're looking at your science courses more than anything.
Great. You touched on it a little bit, and obviously going to university in the US is renowned for being expensive. There are obviously ways around that, and my website has all sorts of information about that. But going to medical school is known as being particularly expensive in the US. For international students who are intrigued by the idea of what you said, of realizing there might actually be different pathways to work in the healthcare world by going to the US, how do they fund it? What opportunities are available to them?
So we do offer, we are a public institution. Our total costs for tuition, I see someone's asking what university. We're Radford University Carilion in Roanoke, Virginia. So we're roughly about $25,000 for tuition. Our room and board is not required. So if students have family in the area, they're welcome to stay with them. But we do also have beautiful apartment style homes for students to live in, just a stone's throw from the hospital, living in downtown, close to nightlife. So definitely right next to an airport. So it's you're in a small town of about 100,000 people, but you still have all the amenities of a larger city. We do have merit scholarships available for all students. And they range anywhere from $1,000 to about $8,000. And students do have the ability to work on campus. Working in the healthcare field, there will be clinicals that you'll have to do, and that's where your optional practical training, your curricular practical training come in. So you do have the ability to work. Really, you're on site because you're within the hospital, so you don't even need a card, which is nice.
Perfect.
But you get a little bit more than the traditional student salary working, doing your clinicals.
Great stuff. So we see there's a question that said about I want to apply for medicine. I will say that the recording, we've kind of already covered that, but this will be available on my Instagram stories and also on the Facebook page later on to watch back. Sort of looking slightly more broadly, a topic I know you've also kind of quite interested in, that you grew up in, you've worked on the West Coast, you've been in big urban cities, and then your career has migrated you to more rural, mountainous areas, Virginia, West Virginia. Areas that a lot of students will kind of maybe overlook when they're thinking of universities. People will think of, I want to be in New York, I want to be in California. But if you are looking, beyond those places, what are the advantages to coming somewhere like Roanoke, Virginia for university study?
I will say the one reason I haven't gone back to California is cost of living. What you can get here, just life is so much more affordable. It's beautiful. We do get all 4 seasons, but we don't get like the snow that you would see in Chicago. I think this year we mainly We got less than a foot of snow. So, you know, there's people are friendly. We definitely have, we're close enough to the south where you get that southern hospitality, but you do have access. We have the Amtrak that'll take you to Washington, D.C. in 3 hours. So we're definitely centrally located. If you love history, or at least U.S. history, you're in a great place. You have access to the Civil War trails, to the Appalachian Trail if you're an avid outdoors person. So there's just so much to do. And like I said, I think affordability is the biggest part of it. You know, even from here to Washington, D.C., you're going to save about 50% in your cost of living just being a little bit further out. Great.
And for a lot of students who may be looking into the US and generally and thinking of the idea of undergrad into postgrad, be that medical school, if they fulfill those criteria, if it's law school, just a postgraduate, going to somewhere maybe less well known, but being a standout student there, that's potentially going to give them a really strong grad school application, and maybe going to somewhere that's potentially is a more kind of brand name university and graduating relatively averagely. That's correct?
Absolutely. I mean, we're a school where your classrooms could be anywhere from 6 to 30 people. So it's so hands-on. Our faculty members sit on the admission boards of other programs and other institutions for their graduate programs. For example, our head of our biomedical sciences, which is our pre-med program, also sits on the admission committee for our physical therapy program. That's a program that sees almost 1,000 applications every year and only takes 45 students. Wow. So you have that foot in the door, and you have that guidance by faculty because they know exactly who you are. So you may go in thinking you wanted to be a medical doctor, but may realize that a PA is more of a physical, you know, working as a physician's assistant may be a better opportunity for you. Or even you may decide that you want to go into veterinary sciences. That's what's so great about being in a smaller institution is you get that guidance. And being here on the East Coast, you have such access. You have research institutions like Virginia Tech right down the street. But yeah, you'll save a ton of money by coming to Radford first, especially, you know, if you're going to add another 4 to 5 years onto your education after your undergrad. Or maybe you want to try something else and go up to Washington, D.C. and try George Washington or American. James Madison University is only a stone's throw away from here, as well as, I mean, we have hundreds of schools in North Carolina. So you really have a lot of different options in a very small radius. We're definitely a hidden gem here in Roanoke.
Awesome. Well, you seem to make a specialism of working at hidden gems, Sarah, and telling people about them. So it's very good of you to do so. People want to find out more, as well as watching back the rest of this when it's up on Instagram or on Facebook at the University Guys later on today. Where can they get hold of you? What's the websites, the social media things that they can be researching?
Absolutely. So if you go to www.radford.edu/RUC, that's Radford University Carilion, you can find all of our information there. My email is swambe, and I know that does not quite roll off the tongue, but swambe@radford.edu. You can find us on Facebook, just search for, or Twitter, searching Radford University Carilion. We actually do, if anyone here is interested in nursing, for example, we are actually having a large Zoom session on the 12th of May, which is also Florence Nightingale's birthday, fun fact, going over our 3 different nursing programs, which is a traditional program, and we also have an accelerated, which is for students who already have their bachelor's degree but want to become get their bachelor's in nursing, as well as anyone who has their RN license and wants to turn that into a full bachelor's. So we have a lot of different options, and that's coming up.
Fantastic, great stuff. Well, thank you so much for your time. So it's very nice to chat and to catch up and hear things are going well in the new institution. I'm sure those people watching live, watching back later, would have found it really informative to know what the complications might be with health sciences in the US, but also what the opportunities are to look at wonderful institutions like Radford Carilion. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was good to see you.
Great stuff. Everyone else stay safe, and we'll be back next week with another Instagram Live.